Welcome everyone, I hope you're having a very wonderful day, and welcome to my guide for Javan Rusa for Emerald Coast. Before we begin, I want to quickly break down how today's guide is going to work. So our first section will be covering their hotspots and locations, and then we're going to move on to weapon recommendations, and then we're going to end today's video with the animal profile, which is a custom map, time zones, ammo chart, and more. Everything you need to make your hunting life 10 times easier. So let's get right into it with the drinking time for these guys. These guys drink from 22:00, so you will have to be doing some night hunting. But good thing is, with these guys, they are very confined to a small section of the map, which you guys will see at the end of today's video. But we're going to open our map and just quickly gloss over where they like to somewhat reside, so you just have a general understanding, and then if not, you guys can just skip to the end of today's video and just see the map of them there. So we're going to open a map, and I'm just going to quickly go over them. They only reside at, I can confirm, at 3 lakes. So we're going to cover the lakes first, and then we're going to cover the river stretches. So right here is the hotspot I'll be showing you guys today, next to Opal Point, where this watchtower is. And then they have another lake over here in the center of the map. This little double lake here has a few zones as well, which is considered a hotspot. And then very far left over here is another lake where these guys like to reside. All 3 of these lakes are hotspots. They do have quite a few zones there, so I do recommend setting tents up for these places and hunting them there over the mangroves, because I'm going to show you guys now where the rest of these guys like to reside. So we're going to start up north here at Opal Point. Now the entire stretch of mangroves all the way up to around this river stretch, right up to where this purple hot pressure zone is right here. To the right of this outpost is where the Javan Rusa zone stops when it comes to this river stretch. So I marked this as a hotspot because there is a lot of zones for me there. It could be different, but I did mark it because it is a very long stretch of river that these guys expand down to. And then moving on further down here, this entire little swamp area also is Javan Rusa territory, and they do cut across over here to the Tambia coastline and the mangroves and follow all the way down here to this outpost as well. Now, I did not mark this stretch of the mangroves, but I assume they can reside there. I just didn't have any zones, so just keep that in mind when you're out there hunting. Another stretch of the river, if we come all the way over here, right where this outpost is, the Buckley's Respite. Basically, for the right of that and all the way up is Javan Rusa territory. So that pretty much does it for all their zones. Let's check out this hotspot really quick. So we're going to come back in here and pull our map down. So I did just set the time, so I don't know if all the Javan Rusas are going to be there, but I do hope they will. And we're just going to cut this way and move along. We did get a mail call earlier, so hopefully they're already there. Now, I do want to quickly complain a little bit about these guys. Even though they have a very small, constrained, constricted area that they like to reside, the mangroves are pretty hard to hunt them, to be quite honest. I will say the easiest section probably is over here on the left-hand side, so I hope you guys get a lot of zones there. And I will say, past this bridge here, you got quite a. It's pretty open, so it shouldn't be that much of a problem. But I will say, mangrove hunting with them is kind of rough. But here we are at our hotspot. We do have a level 4 male there, which we won't be shooting any animals today, just to save time in today's video. We should actually have a group right below us, to be quite honest with you, but I don't see him. We had another level 4 there, another good-looking level 4. And we have another Javan Rusa all the way back there. He's pretty nervous, so I might have spooked him when I was coming up here. But we do have some tracks. I just want to make sure you guys know that it's a pretty good hotspot. We have our third level 4 male here. Where's the rest of our boys at? I swear we have more. I probably spooked them off, but oh, well, there's another drinking zone. Okay, well, as I said, this place is pretty good. I think I have quite a few male singles here, though. But the other 2 lakes have a lot. I mean, a lot of Javan Rusa. I do recommend checking this one out because that one's also pretty crazy. But this one's pretty nice as well. What are we doing here? Excuse me. That's what I thought. All right. Well, that concludes the hotspots and locations. I'm going to head back to the outpost so we can go over the weapon recommendations. So see you guys in just a moment. Alrighty folks, so here we are back at the outpost. Before we begin, I want to mention quickly 3 things. First things first is, I'm only going to be covering rifles, handguns, and shotguns. I'll not be covering bows, because I'm not a bow expert, so I'll leave that to professionals. Secondly, these are just my personal recommendations and favorites. I always say go out there and explore and see what suits you and what you enjoy playing with. And then lastly, I'll be mentioning all the DLC in case you want to pick them up for yourself. So, let's get right started with our first rifle today. Now, this is my personal favorite choice for hunting these guys. The Malmer 7mm Magnum is a very phenomenal bolt action. It's one of the top 3, in my opinion, for rifles for Call of the Wild. This thing covers classes 4 through 9, so it does a pretty reliable job and will drop these deer with relative ease. I also want to point out that there is a base game version for the 7mm. I believe it is only a single shot, so I do recommend upgrading to this thing if you're willing to pay a little bit of money for it. So it's totally worth it, and this thing comes from the Hunter Power Pack DLC. I was about to say high caliber, but this thing is from the Hunter Power Pack DLC, which I highly recommend. Moving on to our second rifle of the day, the Model 1894. I've been having a blast with this thing. I mean, this 44 is pretty overpowered. That's why I don't really recommend it very often, because there's just a lot of other fun guns to use, but you can pretty much use this thing for everything up to, I believe, Class 9. I don't think it covers Class 9, but I think it covers Class 8. So, yeah, I recommend using this thing. This thing will go through them if you do a side shot with the good ammo. So it's pretty reliable, and you can find it in the Ambusher, the Ambusher pack. Moving on to our final rifle of the day. Where are you? I'm going to recommend a semi-auto rifle today. The Zarza 308 is pretty solid. Now, I did recommend that for my last video in the Feral Pigs, but this thing also does really well with the Javan Rusa. It's pretty solid. Highly recommend it. I was going to recommend the 30-06, the M1 Grand, but I was just like, nah, the 308 has a little bit more oomph, so I'm going to recommend it. Very solid rifle. You know, you can play some follow-up shots with it. I just wanted to give a semi-auto option just for those who are interested in it. So, highly recommend picking this bad boy up, and you can find it in the Modern Rifle Pack DLC. Moving on to handguns, I'm going to be recommending my favorite handgun of all times, the 4070, the 4570 Jernberg Spear. It is the best handgun. I will die on this hill. I always say this in every video. The reason why it's so good is even though it's a single shot, you can put a rifle scope on it, which gives it a lot better advantage than all the other pistols. So I recommend using this thing when leveling up, and I believe this thing covers the same classes of 4 through 9. So it's a pretty solid pistol to bring with you and just travel around with just in case. If you need to level up your pistols, I recommend using this thing, and you can find it in the High Caliber Weapon Pack DLC as well. So, moving on to shotguns. Now, I don't typically recommend shotguns for Emerald Coast. I've been saying this in the majority of my videos, but I know people do like shotguns. There's some people out there that really enjoy them, and I recommend using the Norden 20 gauge Serviceman or just the Norden 20 gauge. It's very solid. It's very fun to use. It's semi-auto. You have 3 rounds in the tube, so you can just blast away with it. Now, when it comes to the Javan Rusas, I recommend using slugs. Wouldn't even bother with buckshot, because I'm pretty sure buckshot only covers up to Class 4 for the 20 gauge. I can't be sure. We're about to find out really quick, so I don't give anything. Yeah, covers up to Class 4. So you're pretty much only going to be using slugs for this thing. You could probably, I don't think you're going to be, you could probably use a 12 gauge, but the reason why I prefer the Nordens because it's semi-auto, and honestly, you're not going to be getting close enough to even bother shooting these Javan Rusas with buckshot, to be quite honest, other than maybe if you're in the center lake of the map where it's more jungle. But I would just typically stick to slugs when using the Norden. So that pretty much covers it for the weapon recommendation section. I will see you guys over at the animal profile in just a quick moment. And here we are, folks, at the end of today's video. Before I let you guys go, I'm going to do a quick animal profile breakdown. Starting on the left-hand side, we have all of our basic Javan Rusa information. We have our class, difficulty, silver, gold, and diamond threshold. We have our weight from least to greatest. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the information for the least amount of weight, so when I do obtain that, I will update that within my Discord. And then below that, we have our fur types covering common and rare. Moving on to the center here, we pretty much covered all that information at the start of today's video. So if you just skip here, I do recommend going back there and giving it a quick watch. Moving on to the top right hand corner, we have all of our time zones nice and organized for you, and then below that we have our ammo chart for those full integrity kills. That pretty much does it for today's video, folks. If you guys enjoyed, please drop a like. It really helps out the channel. And with that out of the way, I hope you guys have a very wonderful day. Happy hunting, good luck, and I will see you guys in the next one.